Introducing LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield.
The fact that
cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gab-fed show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, friends. I'm Kent Skelton, and I'm so glad you are here. Together we can battle this struggle and find freedom from it all. Life is continuous, and it would be ridiculous to say that you or I don't experience those seconds, minutes, hours, or days that seem like they'll never end. Time continues on, regardless of how we feel or what we experience. We search, longingly for a way to handle and navigate through these situations we are experiencing. There has to be a way. Surely I can find the solution to get rid of these negative experiences and periods of despair I am feeling. Maybe it's not our own problems, but those of family members or loved ones that are living in pain. These pains may come from alcoholism, addictions, illness, grief, boredom, and in so many other forms. What will we do? Where is that light I'm supposed to be able to see at the end of the tunnel? When will I see it? When will this end? The timing to realize you need help is up to each of us. That's you, that's me. We are each individually accountable for ourselves. We have to make the change, and the timing is now. There's no time like the present to desire and begin that road to recovery. Together, let's reach that freedom from struggle.
Hey, Joel, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm doing good.
Hello, friends.
Thanks.
Good.
Thanks for helping me get this set up. This is, pretty exciting. Folks, I'm Eva Fulton, and Big Joel over here is our producer, and he's helping fill in for the stuff that I don't know because Red's not here today. I'm going to give him an alibi, though. He's out doing some wood therapy, if y'all know what I mean, at this time of the year, right?
Hunting therapy. People want the wood a different way.
Yeah, right. I'm just super excited about a guest that we have coming on. For those of you who are not aware, maybe you're not, friends with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, because I've been sharing it. there's an organization called Deep Sea Valkyries, and to say that there are some things that change your life, and for those of you who know me, I have taken on hiking as my land therapy.
Yeah, I've seen lots of pictures on your Facebook.
Yeah.
Getting it, girl,
I know. I've been on the Appalachian Trail. Who would have thought that I would have done that? Because just a few years ago, I had my red Ferrari from the VA. I was pushing a walker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because I had 2 compression fractures in 2021. So one was from the ice storm here in Texas, and later that year, just right after Christmas, I fractured it again. But I got to participate in this organization's mission to help veterans through a different type of therapy. And, I think I saw a whole different side of the world that God, and I'm going to say that freely, God showed me that there's this another area of the world that exists.
He showed me that too in 2000. Well, no, maybe it was like 1996. If I go any down lower, I'm going to really show my age. But I went to this thing. It was called Ron Luce's Acquire the Fire, and I went on a mission trip to India.
Oh, wow.
And when you're talking about seeing a different method, a different site of the country, I saw some things that really like opened my eyes when it came to like religion and stuff like that. Like, right. I mean, I saw a guy possessed. I saw him like crawling up the wall and stuff. I saw some really, and when I got back from India, I really questioned my relationship with the church, not with God, but with the church. Because at that
you saw a different worldview that you're
not. Yeah, because like this mission trip, it was supposed to be a non-denominational mission trip, but I had a lot of people who were Protestant that they were saying, "Oh, well, Catholics they pray to Mary. They don't really pray to Jesus. They're going to hell." And I'm like, this is supposed to be a non-denomination, and you're sitting there judging.
Yeah.
And so it really opened my eyes how the world works, and I really think that there's a Christian that's just kind of lukewarm and he's not really into it, but he's Christian. You have one that's a beginner that's like on fire. And then I think that third level of Christian, once they get to that top, they try not to, but they find it hard. They tend to judge other people, and they think they're being accountable, like doing videos and all this stuff. But Christ said, be accountable with loving care. So in other words, if you do something with another person, look, if you don't want to be known as a mean person, then don't be a mean person. Act like how Christ would act to them.
Well, but I think that also happens with how we treat nature too. And, I like that part of what I'm doing on ground is the preparation for what I can do underwater, right? Because you can't, now that I've been scuba diving a few times, thanks, Red, for sharing the link for Deep Sea Valkyries. And we're going to get Josh on here in just a moment. There is a way that we become predators on the land, and we have to realize that when we get into the ocean, whatever that noise is that we think we hear, on the surface, we're now in a whole different territory. And I think in some ways there's a lot of parallels with how we interact with people, but interact with nature as well. And, I'm just very blessed and very fortunate to go ahead and bring Josh on. So I'm going to add you to the stage.
Yeah, let's bring the interview of the week.
Interview of the week sponsored by LTD Tactical.
Hey, it worked.
Long time no talk to.
Hey, Eva, how you doing?
I'm very blessed. Thank you.
We're very blessed because it worked.
Always good when technology cooperates and doesn't take you for a fool.
I probably should have like your whole bio, but I know you're a pilot. I know that you have gone through a whole bunch of
even we don't have to kick it to crash with them, homie. Josh, we were totally unprepared, but we have adapted, and we came together because this is a great interview. We get to talk to you. Josh, what state are you in?
I'm currently in Arizona right now.
Arizona. Okay. All right. Awesome. That's where Bradley Jackson is Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona.
We may have to get them connected.
Yeah. Eva, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all right. Have you looked up DSV? Joel, have you looked at them at all?
I believe I heard of them through a VA website because they teach and they show you how to scuba dive and they take veterans out on the ocean and stuff.
Yeah.
Am I wrong, Josh?
It's pretty close, Joel.
Okay.
Yeah. When we get to that, I'll kind of give a breakdown of really what the program entails.
So I'm excited. I'm a 2018 participant and part of Operation Anaconda. And, I'm one of those people who applied. I have not ever been scuba diving before I went. I've been a swimmer, so that part wasn't an issue. I'm a Gulf War veteran, so I knew I qualified on that aspect of things, being a combat veteran. And it was probably really, Josh, one of the best experiences in my life. I know probably my buddies thought that I was like swimming all over them because if you go through the new training, they teach you're supposed to be arm's length from your buddy. And I took that literal. And I'm sure they were just, ready. I can tell by the looks. Can you give me some space?
Not uncommon for the first time divers.
Gotten over that a little bit. But so give us an intro. The biggest thing I think, Josh, why I wanted to have you guys on is that your application period just opened December 1st. So that's why I knew time was critical to, this was prime. I didn't want to wait until after March and you've got, a crew selected, the participants. So give us your spiel.
Absolutely. So, my name is Josh. I'm a 15-year Army veteran of the U.S. Army. You mentioned I'm a pilot. I didn't actually fly in the military. I was in the infantry for my whole career. I served primarily as an 11 Charlie. So, a Chuck, humping mortar rounds and mortar tubes and all that fun stuff. Had the opportunity to, live and serve all over the world, from Washington, D.C. down to Louisiana, out to Germany, deployments to the Middle East and whatnot. Absolutely loved my time in service. It was one of the greatest parts of my life. Unfortunately, due to some injuries, that career was cut a little short. That's okay. God had different plans. And so I was medically retired in 2014. After that, I decided that I wanted to go be a pilot. So I went off to Arizona State. I'm a graduate of their professional flight program, and I jokingly say I run a nonprofit on a full-time basis, and I'm a commercial airline pilot on the side. So just a little snapshot, but yeah, so that's just that's a little bit of my professional background. So yeah, and I'm grateful that you're going to have me here. What do you want to know, Eva? You've already been through the program, so what should we focus on?
So the foundation of what this show is called Freedom from Struggle. And I thought that was a great parallel to have you on to help people, even one of the things that I write about in my book, and one of the things that I've learned from the Camino is that rock, which is part of y'all's process, has a big, impact on people being able to let go of that struggle. So maybe that's a good way to intro it in, and then we can move into the faith-based side of things.
Yeah. So let's rewind. Oh gosh, 11 years at this point.
This is the right website, correct?
It is. You've got it.
All right, good.
So,
and that's Josh on the left right there.
I know, when I was a young pup. So 11 years ago, I was actually back home in Illinois. That's where I'm originally from, at my sister's wedding. And great weekend. Me and my wife, we had done a road trip across country. And while we're at the wedding, we learned that one of the guys that I had previously served with had committed suicide. And of course, that's a tragic event and all that stuff. But what kind of proceeded in the weeks after that was nothing short of a travesty. In 6 weeks, 8 guys that I served with all committed suicide. And there was a snowball effect, domino effect, whatever you want to call it. They weren't all from the same unit. They were from various units. But all of a sudden, the issue of veteran suicide became very real in my life. I think a lot of people, at that time had heard about it. There was some initial studies coming out. There was unfortunately a lot of false data because I think everybody was in this reactionary period of trying to understand what was going on. And so, yeah, me, some buddies, we were all just trying to process what was going on. And I think a big part of that and some of the conversations I had with my wife was, why is it that someone like myself who had the same similar experiences from time in service, the same experiences overseas while in combat zones, why was it that I was able to, after being medically retired, after having served all that time, found meaning after my time in service, found a new career, found things that excited me, right? Like why was I okay and all of these other guys weren't? And so we started down this journey of trying to figure out, what really gave me meaning. And that's when we kind of settled on this idea that there's really a holistic approach to somebody's well-being. And that's where we came up with our 3 pillars of Deep Sea Valkyries. And that is the mind, the body, and the soul. You can be the strongest person in the world. You can, squat, bench, whatever weight you want in the gym. But if you're mentally struggling, all that strength in the world isn't necessarily going to carry you through the dark nights. Similarly, you can be the greatest intellectual out there. You can write all the books on philosophy that you want. But if you're struggling with moral guilt and you have no way to reason through those experiences, you may find yourself in another dark spot, right? So we really kind of came to this conclusion that the 3 elements, mind, body, and soul, are really interwoven with one another. They're mutually supportive of each other. It's that trinity, the triad of support. When you start to struggle in one, oftentimes the other 2 can help pull you up. And so we started saying, okay, well, if I'm strong in those areas, if my buddies are strong, my wife, the ones that are still doing well, where did we find that strength? How is it that those pillars were so strong in our lives? And unfortunately, those men that we lost, that we were close with, where did they, fall off? How did those pillars in their life start to crumble? And, we said, okay, well, is there anything that really can be done? I mean, I'm just I was just a dumb infantry guy that's trying to become a commercial airline pilot. Keep in mind, I'm in the middle of school when all of this is going on. And we thought to ourselves, well, if there is something that can be done, it really has to address all three of those. And I think it has to be done in such a manner that we're unapologetic about it.
Right.
We don't want to sugarcoat anything, but we also don't want to hide it because addressing all three of those in one setting is not the easiest to do, especially if people are struggling in one of those areas.
Right.
So
we do need to take a break and go to commercial, and let's pick up that next phase when we come back.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're listening to the station that's giving veterans a voice. You're listening to MBR.
Another regular day, nobody knows. It's that time he's coming home to them from a foreign land. He pulls up, his mama cries, looks at daddy with tears in his eyes and says, nothing feels better than this. Couple of months go by and no one sees. Something just ain't right, all he wants is peace. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free and put his mind at ease. We will help, 'cause we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again. He gets help, but he still feels off. Sees an ad on the TV about a dog batting said, this is a man's best friend. Whoa, so he goes one day and he picks it up. Never thought a dog could bring so much love and put a smile on his face. But he's finally found a saving grace. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free. Put his mind at ease. We will help, 'cause we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again. Whoa, whoa. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free. Put his mind at ease. We will help, 'cause we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Thanks for having us back. I hope y'all are just joining us. My name is Eva Fulton, and I'm one of the hosts of Freedom from Struggle. Red is out on a woodsy.
He's out on hunt leave.
He's on a wood mission. That's what I'm calling it. Versus he's trying to kill the deer the right way versus my hitting of deer. And finally got my truck back last night. So anyways, we have Josh Griswold on, and he's the president of Deep Sea Valkyries. And I am very honored I was selected to be part of the 2018 cohort to go out on a week trip. I was a brand new scuba diver to go on that adventure. So that took, my stretching my new limits in the water. And I'll tell you, the training that I went through at there's a dive lake east of Dallas. And that is the worst water. But on the flip side, I think it's like the military training that we had. You train in the worst of conditions. And then when you get to places like the Bahamas, you're like, oh, the ocean's so much different. And
right.
There's such beauty down there versus that murkiness. They have a rope. They literally have guide ropes to get you from the bus to the airplane. And it was such murky water. You couldn't even hardly see in front of you, and the testing your equipment. And I think that was probably the biggest thing, Josh, when I was there, even in the Bahamas. Remember my whole issue with the mask? I was ready to become G.I. Jane and shave my head. I don't know if you know how serious I was I was going to be successful at scuba diving, even if that meant shaving. I was
motivated.
Oh yeah. I came that close to shaving all of my hair. I was gonna scuba dive. So, but I like the unapologetic approach. I think that's what you were leading to.
Yeah.
The faith-based side of things, that you weren't going to leave God out of the picture. So.
Yeah, that was really important to both me, my wife, and one of the other gentlemen that helped to put this program together. There's a lot of great veteran organizations out there. And they all kind of have their little niche, but I think what we discovered was so many of them were hyper focused in one particular area. There's great veteran resources for mental health counseling. Wonderful, right? There's great organizations that go out and engage in outdoor activities. I think everybody, veteran or not, recognizes getting outdoors, being active, not living a sedentary life. That is always going to be good for you, right? And then you do have a very few organizations that work with military, veterans, active duty, whoever it might be, with a faith-based approach. But at the time, we had yet to see anything that, said, we're going to put all three of these elements together, and we're going to be very blunt and honest with people in what we can and what we cannot do. And so that was our goal. We always said, look, we're going to present first and foremost who we are and who we are not. And then we're going to go after each one of these elements, and we're going to attack it in the best way possible in what is really just kind of a short time period, right? Because we have hold of these veterans for about a week. And so we want to make it, we want to do everything we can in that very short time period.
I was serving as a chaplain for Women Veterans of America for our local chapter. So I don't know if I had a great influence on getting more women, but I have, spread the news for other women to join and join the program and get out there, because I think it's still representative that a lot of the nonprofits still need to address that they need to resemble what we served with in the military. But I think one of the things that y'all did open up last year was to do first responders as well, right? So how's that experience been between having just only military and then adding the first responder? Are there correlations to the issues?
So the reason why we even had considered opening it up to first responders was really because of the veterans that we had participating in the program, saying, a lot of veterans naturally do transition into first responder roles post-service.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a recognition that there was really no programs out there for first responder communities at large. Very similar to the military, there's this belief that if you seek assistance, if you're struggling in one aspect of your life, you're going to be penalized from, in your work by seeking out that assistance, right? And so the biggest question I had was, all right, if we're going to try and adapt or apply this curriculum to first responders, is it going to be meaningful and is it going to have the same impact?
Right.
And our team, our director of clinical services, our counselors, they all put their heads together and they were able to, with very little work, adapt the talking points and everything that we do address on a day-by-day basis to the first responders that we brought out, and it went over, very, very well. Great success. The assessments that we utilize to determine efficacy of the program, the qualitative assessments, those went really well. But more importantly, the data we get from our the actual numbers that we got back, indicated that it was very, very beneficial for everyone that attended. So we're excited that happened, and we're going to continue that kind of going into the future.
So I mentioned about that rock throwing thing. Can you walk people through what is this rock throwing event supposed to symbolize?
Sure. And it's not new. People have done something like this, for many different retreats, but I think every one of us is carrying around burdens in our life, and sometimes we recognize them. Other times, it's kind of like, if you've ever been playing at the beach and at the end of the day, you realize you have a pocket full of sand. Nobody ever recognized when they started collecting sand and when sand started to get into those places. But at the end of the day, you're like, oh, where the hell did all this sand come from? Right. And
it's heavy. It's so heavy too.
Right. And so
like a pebble here and a rock here. And before you know it, that whole pocket's full. And then that bag is full. And
then when, a week after you get home, you're doing laundry and you're like, where's the sand coming from? Right. And so that's kind of what happens in our life. We start to collect these burdens over time. And at some point, everyone has to make some decisions of whether or not bearing that burden, is that doing you any good? Are you able to even carry it and make change? Or do you just feel the guilt from actions in the past and just feel like it's your responsibility to carry this? And so we kind of do this little routine, the ceremony, whatever you want to call it, about discussing that, figuring out what those burdens are. And the idea is that you place those burdens in this object and you get rid of it. Of course, we also have to recognize that, you learned how to dive, right, Eva? And you very easily could have jumped back in that water, went and found that burden and brought it back up with you. And I think that's true in our lives is, we do our very best to try and get rid of that stuff, push it off to the side, whatever. But especially veterans, we're so good at going back in time and trying to find those memories, those items, whatever it might be. And then we want to drag it back along with us. So we have that discussion. You very well could have jumped back in that water. Well, maybe you had to throw your tank on because it was a little deep, but you could have went back in the water. You could have went and found your rock and brought it home with you if you chose to. But it is really on the veteran. And so part of it is, it's representative of their burdens, but it's trying to tie a physical act into tossing whatever you're carrying with you back in the ocean and leaving it behind, not recognizing that it wasn't important, that it wasn't heavy, that it wasn't real. But we all have to make those decisions at some point in our life if we want to have a better life.
So who do you think is going to be your ideal participant I know that I had joined knowing the role that I was serving in at the time. This was something that was outside of my comfort zone.
Sure.
Because I had not ever scuba dove before.
Yep.
Had to get the training. Are you looking for somebody that's necessarily, I don't know if your model has changed. Are you still welcome to having brand new divers, or do you want somebody who's like, got 100 dives under the belt?
No, in fact, really what we tell people is the foundation of the program is not diving. That's a hook. That's an element. It's a great element. It's one of my most favorite activities. But what we tell people is this is not crisis intervention. I think you saw that, right? This is not a program for people that need immediate high levels of trauma care. And again, we're very honest.
Program. Yeah,
we're very honest on who we are. So I'm glad that those programs exist. Crisis intervention is necessary, but honestly, our goal is to arm veterans with tools so they never need crisis intervention. So who are we looking for? We're looking for people that are not in need of crisis intervention, but we're looking for people that want 1, maybe 2 degrees of course correction in their life. And this is what we mean by that. You're not happy with the status quo. There's an element of your life, maybe a couple things out there where you need those minor corrections. Picture yourself back on the land nav course, right? And if anybody's ever done dead reckoning with a land navigation and they've got their compass out, they know how difficult it can be to walk a perfectly straight line, right? Real life happens, the rocks happen, a cliff comes in front of you and all that stuff. And so we have to be able to make small course corrections 1 or 2 degrees. And so we're looking for people that are willing to do that because they recognize over long amounts of time, whether it be weeks, months, years, a couple degree change in course, you're going to be in such a better place than where you were. We don't care if you've never dove before. We'll get you the training. That's absolutely fine. You can be an instructor. You can be a dive instructor or someone like Eva that had never even put the gear on before in their entire life. The biggest thing is you've got to be open. We need somebody that is ready to put in some work, to make some changes in their life, and is ready to face some really hard truths. Some of the articles piss people off, and we love that. We think that's great. We want people that are they're ready to have some difficult conversations, and particularly on that concept of moral injury and faith, because it is so difficult for people. We tell you, you don't have to be Catholic, you don't have to be Christian, you don't have to be Hindu, Buddhist, or anything like that. We're gonna do a walk through spirituality and moral injury, utilizing some historical figures, some well-known historical figures from the Bible.
Yeah. I think my biggest, as much as we're talking about seriousness, there was a whole lot of fun on the trip too.
Oh, absolutely.
The washing machine is my all-time favorite dive. Give me a drift dive, I'm there. I definitely want to go back, and and I'm still working on my fiction book for that one. Did you know that I'm working on a fiction based upon?
I did, yes.
Okay,
yes.
yeah. So that's a whole nother conversation. Joel, I'll have to catch you up on that one. But we made up these whole scenario of things that don't worry, it's still in my
you gotta have a Bond villain with a giant yacht out there. And
yes. And so anyways, I'm still having to connect some of these pieces, but I didn't know that I was such an adrenaline junkie until after I went through all of the diving side of things. And maybe that's a part of the connection with a lot of our veterans is I'm not in the military anymore. So the adrenaline of, going, getting deployed somewhere or, jumping or whatever.
Yep.
It's, what am I doing now? And I because I had to figure out, I can't afford to go scuba diving as much as I'd want to. So my adrenaline, is the hiking side of things on land, but it's a twofold because now I'm doing something physically that I enjoy doing that I'm not being told I had to do in the military. I had to flip that in my head and give my permission, self permission, that physical activity was good. And now I can do one thing to train for the other.
Yeah. And that's a big part. Oh, go ahead, Joel.
I was just gonna say, it's funny you guys are talking about this. I've loaded up a video clip of something that came across my desk yesterday, and it makes you think. It kind of talks about what you guys are talking about. Let's watch this clip real quick. Okay. We got to kind of take a break, anyways.
Okay. For all my active duty / veterans, and I guess reservists too. If you are 100% permanent and total disabled, you can withdraw from your TSP without any penalties as long as you're 100% permanent and total disabled. You're welcome.
Okay, that was totally the wrong clip, but that's okay. At least
it was informative.
Yeah. Sorry about that. No, the clip that I was looking at, she was talking about how ASFAB scores. We always think that ASFAB scores determine like what job we are and stuff like that. The ASFAB scores determine if you're trainable to be in the military. It has nothing to do with what job you're doing. Trainable, 90% of military, they're either poor or they come from broken family, and they look for that because when you're down and out like that, your mind is kind of easier to manipulate and to train to be in that stress, that environment. Like I said, I played the wrong clip. I'll look for the clip of that. I'm sorry, Josh. I didn't mean to.
You're good.
I think you do have to be trainable to learn how to scuba dive, though, because it is you and your equipment, and you have to have trust in the equipment and what you've learned. And like I said, that's where that chaos of whatever is happening on the land, you shut that out. I think that was the beauty I saw in the Solace underwater. It's the sounds, it's the bubbles, right? It's
well, the diving's multidimensional, and again, everything we did or all the elements that we put together were intentional. With diving, for me, the reason why I got into it was my back injury precluded me from jumping out of planes anymore, which very much was an adrenaline rush. But I love exploration, I love history, all of that stuff. But diving, yes, it's almost like, back in the day when you had to do PCCs and PCIs, you got to check your gear, check your buddy's gear, make sure everything's working, right? You got to plan your dive, then you got to execute that plan. You're working with people underwater, but you really are exploring, especially the areas we go to. We tell people, you may be the very first person that gets to witness something underwater. You may be the first person that finds something, anything like that. So it's a very it's a very unique sport. And for a lot of our veterans, it kind of transcends the vast majority of injuries. We've taken amputees. We've taken people that have paralysis. There's an entire Handicapped Scuba Association and certification. So, even these men and women that do have injuries that may be preventing them from doing what they used to love doing, this is now a new activity that they can do. And then beyond that, when they get home, these are activities they can do with family, friends. I mean, even kids, my 11-year-old and 13-year-old, they've been out diving in the ocean. They've been diving in 3 or 4 different countries at this point. So it's something that, the veteran can do regardless. It allows them to now engage with activities with their families and all that stuff. So it's another option for them as they're trying to navigate what their world looks like post-service.
So walk us through, I already put in the chat for everybody that application is open now through the end of December 31st. Correct. And I know from being in the Valkyrie alum page, you made sure to tell us that we need to make sure folks, if they're going to fill out an application, be thoughtful in your answers. A one sentence is not gonna move you to the final review round.
And that's that was what I was going to ask. The criteria, like, you have to have a percentage with the VA, or
nope.
So if anybody,
combat veteran is the only criteria, and obviously they have opened it up to first responders. So combat veteran and first responders is the only criteria.
And
walk us through the whole cycle of what the
expectations
are. Yeah.
Yeah, so the application kind of has three parts. One's administrative. Like every organization, we have to collect demographics just so we know where people are applying from. You mentioned before, Eva, our retreat pool, our alumni pool, and it's actually very reflective of what the current veteran population looks like. But that has no bearing on the selection. That's really for grants and nonprofit work, all the stuff that nobody really cares about. The second part is probably the most important element, and it's we asked three questions. They're very, very easy questions on the surface. We kind of tell you what the retreat is about. We ask you, how you're wanting this retreat to enhance you. Do you have any goals for the retreat and all that stuff? The questions were designed by our selection committee. Our selection committee is all counselors that work with individuals that need treatment for trauma. But yeah, you're right, Eva. A one word or a one sentence answer isn't going to get you selected. Keep in mind, in any given year, we have 10 to 20 times the applications for spots that we can put people into retreats. And so we can figure out very quickly who's looking for a free trip to the Bahamas to go diving and who is actually there for the right reasons. So take the time, read the questions and answer them. It is not first come, first serve, right? If somebody applies in the first 5 minutes of the application window, we pretty much know they didn't put any thought or effort into it, right? So take your time in those questions. The last part is a whole bunch of acknowledgement statements. Some of your normal ones, like, you're going to follow the rules, you're going to dive safe, all that. But really, it is not a difficult application. Once the application gets submitted, we take everybody's information, we de-identify it. So we strip the statements and the answers to the questions away from names and locale and all that fun stuff. And just those three questions that each person gets asked goes to our selection committee. It's anywhere from 5 to 7 people that review those questions. They rank them, they send them back to us, we plug them back into the system, and then we start to sort, and we select the first ones for that first retreat, and then we start notifications. So if anybody has applied, they usually get notified sometime around the middle of January. And then if they need dive training, if they need refresher courses, we start planning all that stuff.
So Josh, from the time that you started this organization to now, approximately how many dives do you guys think you have accumulated? And during that time frame, have you guys ever experienced like an event, like a shark bite or something like dangerous?
So we have done, let me see, to date. Now this doesn't count some of the reunion events or our first year we didn't track this because we didn't think about it. But to date, we've done over 2,700 dives amongst our participants. We've got over 81 days underwater, like 117,000 minutes, right? More importantly, though, we've done over 6,000 cumulative hours of counseling, right? So it's 6,000 hours of trauma counseling. We've never had technically anything can be dangerous out there if you're not smart, if you're not following the rules, so to speak. But we do. I think some people get a little, I wouldn't say freaked out. I think they're amazed at what we do with all of these divers. And I mean, Eva, you remember we do a shark feed. We do a high-speed drift dive, assuming that the alignment of the moon and everything works out and the tides are correct. We dive on coral, the walls that go out over the the abyss. We dive on shipwrecks, plane wrecks. We do night dives. We basically give every diver, whether they're an instructor or a first-time brand new diver, probably the most well-rounded experience that you can have out in the ocean. And keep in mind, We're doing this off of a liveaboard vessel. It's a dive boat. We're at sea for the entire week, and we're really kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We're about 30, 40 miles away from Nassau, out in the Exumas. Some of those beautiful,
it's gorgeous
environment you can ever imagine. I mean, there's zero light pollution. It's all these uninhabited islands. It's a lot of fun.
Man,
it's gorgeous. And the food is amazing.
Yeah.
This is not,
Don't forget your phone power cord, right? Because you'll be swimming to Walmart.
You don't need to go, less is better. You got your swimsuit, you get your cover up and something to sleep in, you're good to go.
Yeah, we tell everybody it's camping at sea. It's the greatest thing in the world. Heck, half the time we don't even have cell reception because, we're out so far away from land.
Honestly, you don't want it. But I do recommend if you've got, your underwater camera, take it and take some videos. And, I need to put some more of that stuff out now that I know how to do, some more tech stuff. I need to share that. But
I think I'm going to buy my flight, come out there and have Josh take. I've never been like diving or deep sea fishing or anything like that.
Oh, really? Maybe you need to apply.
Water, actually.
You're afraid of water?
I'm kind of scared of water. Yeah, just kind of. Like, I don't like swimming. I don't like water, I'm one of those guys.
Okay, well, maybe this organization is not for you.
It'll expand my horizons.
It can, but I think the biggest thing was still like what I was explaining. Once the mask and the water leaking, once I could get through that and get the seal, because I have so much of this baby hair right here, I don't think you'll have that problem, Joel. I had water leaking. You're not going to have that issue. So, but so you go through the selection, they get notified. I know that I did my training out there, at the local, dive lake. Yep. And they were, Scuba Toys in Dallas. I'm happy to plug them because I think they sponsored my training. And, I think I'm very thankful for organizations like that who support you guys in doing this mission. Because I know that I had my own internal revelation on the trip, which I think helped me tell my journey even when I was working on my documentary, that, traumas are going to come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes for different people, right? Whether it's something that happened during combat, or maybe it could have been a military sexual trauma that could have happened for somebody. Just trying to figure out how to. Is everybody's video frozen? Okay.
No, I'm good.
I just wanted to make sure it looked like it was frozen, but I think it's important. We can't, if we don't work through these kinds of traumas, even in a form of scuba diving, when we're facing some of these, what we think are fears with sharks, Joel, swimming with sharks, and now that I've swam with them several more times, I mean, obviously, depending upon the shark, they're like puppies in the water, That's what it was in Belize. They're like puppy dogs in the water because they're just little nurse sharks. But I know when we were there and we were in the blue hole and the sharks were swimming around, it was, mating season, and everybody, and I had that preconceived thing about, really, we're going to swim with sharks? And I was the last one to go in the hole with you guys. And I only got 93 feet down, but it was mating season. They don't care about us humans. They're too busy chasing shark tail. Yeah. Seriously. So how do you help people get over some of those fears though? Is that
don't watch Shark Week right before you come out because they like to embellish everything. It's a lot of times we talk about it just like from your time in the military, right? I guarantee you everybody in the military at one point had to do something that made them uncomfortable. And definitely jumping into the ocean, especially where we're at, it can be a little daunting. There's no doubt about that. Yep, we're diving with sharks. I mean, heck, our last event, there was a tiger shark roaming around. There was a hammerhead and all that stuff. But if you kind of listen to the instructors, listen to the staff and all that stuff, they're going to really talk you through and explain to you why it is safe, what to look out for and all that stuff. We've been doing this for 10 years. We haven't lost anybody yet. So, we're doing okay. We've got a pretty good track record.
As long as the way I always think about it is we're in their territory. We're actually the invaders in their and as long as we're, mindful and respecting them, they're going to respect us.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're this giant, large thing in the water making noise and, they've got better things to do. Yeah. They're going to look at you and swim around and check you out, but they got more important stuff to worry about, like, where they got to swim to, all that stuff. So they're not going to mess with you.
All right. We've got 3 minutes left. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. How do we find you? It's Deep Sea Valkyries.
DeepSeaValkyries.com. We're on all the social medias. Just look up Deep Sea Valkyries. If you have questions, the website's pretty informative on all that stuff. Definitely on social media. You'll see a lot more of what we do. That's kind of the way people look at everything. But yeah, please jump on the website, check it out. The application window is open, like you said, Eva, up until December 31st. So please take a look at it. Just take your time if you're going to fill out an application and really make sure you are coming for the right reason. And make sure you're ready to put in the work because while it's a great location, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of laughs, a lot of teasing, a lot of, building of camaraderie. We want
the alum. We would be wrong if we didn't mention that we do have an alum page. We welcome everybody in when they finish. And when is the 2025 cohort scheduled for?
End of May. It's on the website. I should probably know. It's towards the end of May. It'll be over Memorial Day, and then our alumni retreat just got announced
May 23rd through the 30th. So they have to know that they are available May 23rd through the 30th before they apply. Don't apply unless you know that you have that time slot available, right?
Got it.
Okay. And don't think that just because you don't get in the first selection that you might not be called up as an alternate. So
yes, that happens. That happens a lot. I'd say a third of our retreats are comprised of people that were primary alternates. For one reason or another, life happens and somebody can't attend. We've also had people where they've applied and 6 weeks before, they break their leg, break their arm. And so they're not able to attend, and we just roll them right into the next retreat. So, if you don't get selected on the primary one, if you get announced that you're an alternate, don't stress. We've had to call people up all the time. So,
and there are alum dives too. So
I
still need to get in for an alum dive.
Hey, we just announced it. It's going to be in September. Keep an eye on the page. Nisa, our director of business ops, she does our social media. She's going to be posting teasers.
Red is already trying to talk me into going so that he can guard my Harley and sit in for it. I see what you're doing there, Red. I see what you're doing. I would love to come, Josh. I'm gonna try to do that, and I would love to have lunch with you when I go there as well. I think you learn a lot about somebody when you have lunch with them.
Absolutely.
I put my email with MBR Radio in the chat if anybody has any questions, and feel free to reach out to me too. Obviously, I am not on the selection committee. I'm just, would be able to give some insight as an alum of the program. So
you're a referral.
But if I referred you, how can they put who referred you? Is that
it's
on
in the application? Yep, it'll say, "Are you referred by a past participant?" And then, they can put a name in there.
Name on. So, thank you so much, Josh, for coming on. I really appreciate it. I know this was last minute, even though we were trying to get this on. And if any of the other past participants want to come on and want to chat some more with us, maybe what their personal struggles were, since it is the Freedom from Struggle show, maybe this can help, the participant side of how did the program help them?
All right, let's connect later, and we'll post something on the alumni page, and we'll see if we can get a date, maybe like a testimonial day or something like that.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Josh, thank you for your service as well.
Joel, thank you. Thanks so much, Eva. You look great. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yep. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
All right, well, it's your show, Eva. We close it up, or if you wanted to bring up something.
No, I'm really thankful that Josh came on. I think that it's just a super program. So I hope they get some great applications this year.
Oh, I'm sure.
And not that they haven't ever before, because obviously I'm a an alum, and but I haven't dabbled in a lot of other programs out there. There are some that I have participated in, and I think the biggest thing that we actually short ourselves on is we don't take advantage of joining on to some of these, and participating in the programs.
Right.
That can help them learn some tools to prevent them from having that, emergency kind of event. If you've got this, wheelhouse of tools,
right,
that you can lean on and reinforce faith to, not have those struggles. So,
yeah. And I also think that there are a lot of veterans. Not only do we second guess ourselves mentally and physically sometimes, but I think there are also veterans that kind of second guess their service. Well, I didn't get hurt, or I wasn't really in combat, so I don't really deserve to go. You know what? Enroll, attempt, try,
help yourself.
Help yourself. Don't say no to yourself. Make them tell you no. Don't second guess your service. That's all I'm saying. And I find a lot of veterans do that, especially when it comes to utilizing the VA healthcare and stuff like that. So
yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for joining on last minute and helping me through all of the tech side, Joel.
Yeah, no problem. It's always fun with you, Eva. And hey, if you guys haven't checked it out, every Wednesday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, that I didn't stutter. 6 a.m.
I know.
Eastern Standard Time. We have the most smiling show in the world. Check it out.
We laugh so much on that show.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes you get a prize at the end of the show if you can guess how many snorts Smile did.
Not me, y'all. Not me. No. I'm not a snorter. All right. Thank y'all so much for joining us on the Freedom from Struggle show. Obviously, we're not going to be able to avoid struggles in life indefinitely. But knowing how to navigate it and knowing that you're not going through struggles alone, I think is the biggest thing, that we can all be there for each other. I did bring up, I just want to say this really fast because I didn't put in a Bible verse, but it's Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So if y'all take anything away from today, the plans are there. We need to give ourselves permission to participate in those plans that God has for us, that there is hope, that we do have, a path before us. And it's up to us to make that choice to keep moving forward. So thank you all for joining today. Hope you all have a blessed weekend. It's raining here in North Texas, so stay safe.
Have a good one, everybody. See you guys next Wednesday.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.